Okay.
Phil, what do you hope people understand about your football program, the way the last 3 weeks have gone, and the way they competed in those 3 weeks? What does it say about this group of youngsters in your estimation?
Well, I'm not so sure. I look back, beyond that, more so. I think it's, that period of time in which we went through the losses. I think that's what really defined this group of young people. I think the fight and the spirit, excuse me, the perseverance, determination, the that never give up spirit and attitude. I think that's probably what I remember from this season as much as anything. And if there was a tag to put on this football team, it would probably be centered around all those traits. I'm pleased, obviously, that they came back and did what they did, and doing it. When you think about having to come back from a deficit in each of the last two ball games, or two of the last three ball games, is pretty significant. And I think that's evidence of the never say die spirit, I guess.
With all that's happened this season and all the overcoming all the obstacles, can you just kind of describe the locker room, how that locker room was when you walked in there with everybody?
Well, they were pretty pleased with themselves, to say the least, and I'm pleased that it was that way. I mean, under probably normal circumstances, it probably wouldn't be that way. We'd act like we've been there before, but considering what they've gone through over the course of this season, I think it was appropriate, and they were excited and enthused, and I was happy for them.
Coach, I know you talked a lot about Morgan lately, but for him to do what he did today with all the returns, how impressed were you with what he was able to do?
Well, once again, the answer is simply very impressed, but it's not just Morgan. There's a whole bunch of guys on there that kind of help make that take place, and they did. Now obviously he is the guy that gets in the end zone and does the things that he does, and is a tremendously talented, gifted young guy at that. But it's a entire unit of 11 people.
Coach, Michael Moore had his best game of the season. If he's one of the best defensive games of the year for you guys. Can you just kind of give your thoughts on his play and his progression as he's gone through it?
Well, you have to think back too. Michael went through some difficult times with the, loss of his father. During the, prior, just right at the beginning of the season, and it's been hard for him. Because he's a good family man, and loves his family, and all of it was really hard, and it took him quite some time. But he has gotten to the point where he's worked his way through that. And he's beginning to enjoy himself again, and he's enjoying playing now. At the initial phase of the season, he wasn't even sure he wanted to be there, just because of the issues in his life. And I admire him so much for, fighting through it all, and learning again to enjoy the game that, he loves so much, and does again. So I'm awful proud of him.
Which the offense couldn't do much first half. How did Cody Cook change the complexion of the game when he came in?
Well, I think every youngster in our program, all of our offensive people, have a great deal of confidence in Cody, and I think maybe when your number one quarterback goes down, then normally there's some type of an emotional letdown, and I think with Cody coming onto the field, I didn't sense that letdown. I think they felt comfortable that he could step in and make plays, and continue to try to get our offense to go. He made some plays. He threw the ball reasonably well, overthrew a couple of deep balls that we had opportunities to score on, but overall played quite well. And I admire Cody so much. He's a tough young guy, tough-minded young guy. competes, as competitive as anybody, I think, and our players recognize that, and that's kind of, that's uplifting to them as well.
Coach, talk about Deontay Burton. What a big day for him. 5 catches, 135 yards, including that big touchdown reception that he had.
Well, don't quote me on this, but what I'll tell him, it's that one that he dropped on about the 3-yard line that I'm a little concerned about, but played well. It seems like almost every ball game he comes up with a big catch of some sorts. He can get up in the air, has a pretty good understanding of what goes on defensively and how to get himself open. And obviously, he made some along with Cody and Joe made some clutch plays in the ball game to give us a chance to maintain possession of the ball, because we had some field position issues in the in a good portion of the ball game and couldn't get out of there, and that was a real problem for us. And what West Virginia's offense did get more often than not, it was that short field that we created by not being as adept as we needed to be on offense.
Coach, your team held West Virginia to 30% conversion on 3rd down and then had to run huge 4th down stuff. Can you talk about how they played their back against the wall and came up with those plays?
Well, I think a number of things took place. Now, we had our issues. And some of it, even though it was 30%, they got some of those second and mediums conversions by just raising up and throwing, the little short routes in there and the little slant routes off that little, zone fake or play action fake. And they got a few too many of those, which moved the chains. But, when you go back and look, 30% conversion rate for our defense is really good, because we have not been we're down towards the very bottom in the conference in regards to 3rd down defense, on 3rd down conversion rate on defense. So it was we did step up. And we had some guys, you go back, we contested a lot of passes, not as many as I'd like, but we contested a lot of throws and broke up a lot of throws, in those situations as well, which was really big for us. And, it always helps us when, we can tighten down our coverage and not give them those easy throws. We gave them a few of those, but when we tightened down, we had the ability and got ourselves in position to compete for throws, and our guys competed pretty well for them. There's an awful lot of, I say an awful lot of, I don't know what the number is, but there's a number of knockdown passes, where it's close. It's he's going to get it or we're going to knock it down, one of the two. It's there's no big separation in there, and it takes some discipline to do that without the pass interference calls as well. So.
Bill, along with the back end of the defense, did you feel like you pressured the quarterback as well as you had the entire year?
Well, it was important to us. I think the young man, I admire their quarterback. And I told him that after the ball game, because he is a competitive young guy, and I admire the way he competes. A lot of people thought he probably couldn't throw the ball too well, but you look up and see, the touchdown pass that he had, the little fade route down there. He threw awful well. He threw a lot of things well. But, the concern was for us is, if we could pressure him a little bit, and he might be a little bit errant with some of his throws. And early in the ball game, we got some pressure to him, and that was exactly the case. It got a little harder, to get the pressure on him. I don't know what we ended up with. I think at one time we had 4 sacks. I don't know if we ended up, probably may have gotten a couple more. I'm not sure. But that was important. When he had time to throw, he's got good receivers, guys that have some speed and quickness to him and can find open areas. And when we gave him time, he could do that. When we got the pressure on him, we normally had some success.
Bill, I'm just wondering how comforting it is not to have to take a vote of a 5 and 7 team on whether they have to go.
Well, that's major. There's not a player in this program that has ever been involved in a losing season. And so in my way of thinking anyway, that needed to be important to them, and I really believe it is and was. We talked about not backing into a bowl game. my understanding was probably would have gotten an invitation anyway, but that doesn't have near the meaning it does, and it's not the bowl game itself. It's it's what took place in order to give them an opportunity to have an invitation to a bowl game. So I think they're pleased about it.
You guys have now won 3 in a row, you're going to a bowl, you get the extra practices. How much of a springboard can this whole process be for the next season?
Well, it kind of depends on how that next game finishes. Well, that'll make a difference, won't it? It should. I mean, it should elevate thinking, emotional aspect of players preparing themselves for the future. I think bowl preparation, if we're fortunate to be in one, which I think we will, but as I've said all along, that's why people ask me about, are there too many bowls? You guys have asked me the same thing, and I've always maintained, there's not enough. If there's 100 bowls, that'd be a good thing in my way of thinking, and the reasoning behind it is, as I've said to you so many times, that the opportunity to have those extra practices, it's another spring practice. So you get two spring practices in all reality. And that's significant to any program. And you think of programs that haven't had the good fortune to go as many bowl games as we have. It means an awful lot to them to have that opportunity. And I've always said it was, it's one of the things that was the foundation of our program going way back in the early 90s. That gave us the opportunity to get ourselves better year in and year out because we started that string of bowl games, and that was instrumental to our program, very much so. And again, for us, it's about a wonderful fan base that, we have an awful lot of people that save up their nickels and dimes, throughout the course of the year, and the only vacation they take is that one that is after the season is over, and it doesn't make any difference where it is. They just love to go, and that's why we have such great attendance at bowl games, and so it's meaningful to them as well. And shared that with our players, how much our fan base is invested in our program and what all this means to them as well.
Last question here, we start.
Coach, we discussed on Tuesday, you are indeed the first team to have 6 wins in the Big 12, same season that you lose 6 games in a row. And you do so with wide receiver / quarterback leading the way down the stretch of this final game on a team that's been held together seemingly with masking tape part of the season. When you take a step back right now off the cuff, I'd like to ask you just what you think when you think about the season and everything that's happened with it.
Well, first of all, I'm in the masking tape business. I own a little or so. I'll reflect upon it here shortly. But my thinking all along has been kind of what I've said before. A team of young people that maybe don't possess a value system that I talk about all the time probably wouldn't be able to come back and finish the season as they did and compete in all those other ball games with one exception. As well as they did, even though, they were losing the ball games. So it's what I said before, I think it's a reasonably disciplined football team. I think they're a tough-minded football team. I think they're a group of guys that have the innate ability to be persistent, as we talk about, keep rowing the boat and keep sawing wood and all those kinds of things, but they do. And I'm proud of them, for that. And you look around and, our next quarterback was Luke Hayes, so I don't know what, but you just, you deal with it. I mean, that's just the way it is. And as a young person, you have to learn how, to do that. Life's not going to be, sunshine and roses all the time, and you better learn how to deal with some of the adversities that take place. And this is as great a learning opportunity as could exist, probably. Well, I'd like to have a small break, but I have to, we've got a reception to go to and a TV show to do, and then I've got to get up early tomorrow morning and leave town. So it's, we'll find some time sometime. Thank you all very much for the season.